Hello, I am Honorable Lakasuba, and this is the Spotlight interview on Gambian. In a moment, I'll be sitting down with Mayor Ahmed Bensouda to discuss his presidential speech, his departure from the United Democratic Party, and his plans to tackle key issues facing the country. So let's go hear from him directly. Greetings to our viewers and Araba Makasuba on Gambiana, and today we have our guest is Mayor Ahmed Talib Bensouda, and then Mayor, we appreciate your time, and then welcome to this interview on Gambiana. So, can you just tell us who is Mayor Ahmed Talib Bensouda?
Thank you so much, and hello to your listeners. My name is Talib Bensouda. I'm the current sitting mayor at the Kanifing Municipal Council. I'm also the initiator of the new movement called Unite for Change movement. I am a family man. I have a wife and two children. I'm also a businessman. I have about 2 businesses. So I think this encompasses who I am, but I am a public servant by heart, and I want to see my country develop.
I know you've attended school in this country and abroad also. Can you just step us through which school have you attended in this country, and then abroad also, what kind of schools or colleges you have attended also?
In Gambia, I attended nursery school, primary school, middle school, high school in all one school, Marina International School. And I achieved my IGCSEs. And I further went to college in Canada, in the college called Columbia International College, where I got my diploma. And then I attended university as well in Canada, the University of Toronto, where I achieved a double major in arts or economics, and then digital communications technology. And then I achieved a diploma in Sheridan Institute of Technology for communications. And then I came back to Gambia. I achieved my insurance diploma at West African Insurance Institute.
So, looking at your background, you have a business background.
Yeah.
But what brought you into politics? Was this something goal that you have in for the past years, or it just came up one day that okay, you want to be a politician?
Well, I never thought I probably want to be a politician, but I always felt like I wanted to lead. And since I was a child, I was talking about politics. I said to a friend a long time ago that one day I will run for head of state, but I don't think I believed it. I just think I was very interested in what was going on in our country. But when I really got that push and that nudge was in 2016, when the former president wouldn't leave, I joined a movement called Gambia Has Decided. And that's when we became activists. And in 2017, I realized the impact of leadership, especially in politics. Then I said, I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to participate. And that's when I tried to run for parliamentarian. When I was late for my application, I further decided to run for mayor of KMC.
So in 2018, you came to KMC as the mayor under the United Democratic Party. But before that mayoral election also, there was some push and pull within your party over who should lead the party to become the mayor of KMC. Can you just take us through on these issues? Because we've seen that some of your opponents end up leaving the United Democratic Party. They even claim that the party supported you, gave you favoritism over them.
Well, it's natural. In any competition, there's winners and losers. And of course, losers will justify why they lost. Nobody wants to lose. But it was a tough competition. Actually, where we are is where we planned our campaign. In 2017, I was the youngest. I was the newest in the political landscape. And I just used my ability in terms of my ability to manage, my ability to communicate, my ability to plan, and we came out the victor. And then in the elections leading to that, we also won again. Some might say that we won because President Barrow was supporting our party at the time, or maybe I was supported by the party. But in 20 23, my re-election, President Barrow was directly against us and he brought a minister to challenge us. So it just shows you that it's not about, winning and losing, it's about how well you plan. We planned very well. I'm a good planner.
So since you came to KMC as the mayor, do you feel that, okay, you've achieved all your targets and ambition?
Certainly not. I feel like there's a lot left that I wanted to do, but it's life, We all make plans, we all have ambitions, but, Allah wills and sometimes circumstances prevent us from achieving exactly what we set out to do. But I think for the most part, we've had a big impact. We've achieved a lot. We've made a big difference. If we had 5 major goals, we have at least hit 4 of them. So, alhamdulillah, although I think circumstances could have been better, when I say that, I mean in 2019, the split between Adama Barrow and UDP, that affected administration between local councils and government, so that derailed a lot of our agenda. And of course, in 2021, the fight with government started with the former CEO, then the Ministerial Commission of Inquiry, then the latest Commission of Inquiry, and that derailed a lot of our activities because many staff didn't want to work. And of course, the legislative agenda we set out to give councils more power in terms of the decentralization policy to ensure mayors have more authority, that didn't happen. So I would say those things have hurt our agenda, but I think for the most part, Gambians graded us very high, and that's why I was re-elected with a big margin.
Okay, you've said that, okay, since the split of United Democratic Party with President Adama Barrow in 2019, that was the start of the fight. So can you just elaborate on this part?
So in 2018, of course, we all heard that the president and our party leader were not pulling well as president and VP. And I think there was a dispute about who should lead the 2021 elections, whether expressed or implied. And because of that clash of ambitions, President Barrow decided to either lead the UDP or leave, and he decided eventually to leave and set up the NPP. And of course, then he wanted to ensure that his NPP was strong and his NPP was well structured, etc. And he saw councils as the backbone for UDP. So naturally, administratively, they did whatever they could to stop council's progress. We started with the Mbali project, for example, that has gone under so many investigations, so many scrutiny. We were charged $13.1 million at the port. They wanted that project to fail because they felt like the success of that project, being the biggest ever council project in the history of the Gambia, if it succeeds, then it means UDP will succeed. So that, along with other fights like the Ministerial Commission of Inquiry that was set up and we defeated in court, and then later they set up the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. But this was all politically motivated at the time.
Okay, one of the main issues also is the Mbali project.
Yeah.
We've seen that, okay, there are certain people within even the government, they are saying that this is an area that you didn't do much on trying to keep KMC clean. But we've seen that also you brought this Mbali project whereby you have a lot of trucks collecting these garbages from homes and then dumping them, especially the Bapata dump site issue. And recently also we've seen a group protest against this issue because they said, okay, you promised that, okay, you are going to end dumping at the Bapata dump site, but this is the area you failed in. So what is your take on this?
So when government officials say waste hasn't improved, I think it's political talk. In politics, everybody just sees what they can say. But you ask the people of KMC, I don't think I would be re-elected if we did not do much in waste management, which was the most and biggest problem in Gambia. It is still one of the biggest problems. But what we have done in waste collection, I don't even think any West African city has done. 30 trucks, bought brand new, state-of-the-art, collecting 500 tons of waste every day. If I didn't bring the Mbali project, imagine what would be KMC would be like. And politics is very short memory. People forget that waste was so much in the municipality that once they dumped the waste in front of the former mayor's office, So I think it's just small political talk. Everybody knows and feels the impact of the Mbalit project. In essence of your second question was about the Bakote Dam site.
Yeah,
So the Bakote Dam site is a 30-year-old quarry. It was a big problem at the time for the residents of Bakote Manja Dipakunda. So when we came into office, like I said, I never make political promises. I say this is my plan. So one of the plans was to improve the dump site. The second plan was to work towards closure of the dump site, both of which we have done and achieved. So the first one was to improve the conditions. All agree the dump site is way better than it was before. Many people even forget it's there, especially when you're passing on Koto Silo, because there's a fence around it. You can't even see it. Before you used to drive and you will see open dump with children playing inside, cows grazing there, the community using it as a shortcut. Those days are gone. And back then you will see every year it will be burning for months and months and months. We are all in Gambia. We've been here 4 years. The dump site hasn't burned once. So that's why I say politics sometimes is very short memory. People forget and then they move from gratefulness to blaming. So there's not much we can do with that, but the dump site has massive improvement, infrastructure, recycling facilities. Soon we'll be installing a recycling shed there. Sorry, a recycling machine there. We already have the sheds. Now, in terms of the closure, that's already been secured. In 2018, the funny part is I invited the president there during his Meet the People tour. So I asked the State House if they can try and divert the president to come and visit the dump site so he can see the magnitude of the problem. He came and we entered the dump site and then he said, he will do everything he can to close this dump site. But government has not done any single step towards making that happen. So what did I do? I went to the EU. So I applied for a project in the EU from 2020. And 2 years back, we got approval for the project. It is of the tune of 48 million euro. And that project does not only touch the Bakote dump site, it touches West Coast region and Banjul. So the 48 million euro project is an investment by the European Investment Bank. So in 2022, they started the pre-feasibility study. In 2023, they did the feasibility study. So the project is approved and the component that will close the Bakote dump site will start in 2027, January. But in this project, like I said, there will be waste recycling plant in Banjul and Abuko. So Banjul around Denton Bridge and Abuko. There will be an engineered sanitary landfill in West Coast region, that's Tambanna. The Bakote dump site will be closed. The amount is 3 million euro to recover and close the Bakote dump site. So this project is already secured. And to our surprise, when the EU took it and invited all the stakeholders, on the document it says KMC is the promoter of the project, though all of these people are benefiting. But the government was not happy about that. So they wanted KMC to be removed as the promoter of the project. So the EU called me and they said, look, if you insist that KMC should remain as the promoter, these people might not agree and they have to sign. So what do you think we should do? I said, you can remove KMC, just put them as the promoter. For me, what is most important is it will bring benefits to our people and this dump site will be closed. So that's what happened. The project is signed. So in 2026, the area councils will be receiving compactor trucks as part of the project. KMC as the author and promoter and founder of this project will receive 7 trucks. Brikama will receive 13 trucks. Banjul will receive 5 trucks. But just to show you how much amazing work my team and I have done over these past years, that will bring so much benefit to Gambians. So the short answer is the dump site will be closed starting 2027.
2027. Thank you. Okay, overall, your leadership at KMC, how would you gauge it? How would you rate it? Like your relationship with the government, and then
to be honest,
was it something smooth, or would you say it is very hard on you?
It is not smooth, but it's not hard on me. I always tell people, I'm not doing this for my house. I'm doing it for the Gambian people. So whether the government supports us or not, they know they're either hurting the Gambian people or helping the Gambian people.
Because there was a time when you have this fracas with the former CEO.
Yes, so I mentioned that. So because when the government looked at KMC and how we were organizing and how we were transforming the municipality and the trends we were setting for Gambian politicians, we were setting a precedent that truly a Gambian politician can deliver. And if allowed to walk freely, we can really have impact if you have integrity and you are willing. So they did not like what I was representing. So instead of helping, they decided to fight because naturally they felt at the trajectory and speed we were going, maybe the next thing we are going to challenge for presidency, and then their instinct was to fight us, starting with the CEO in 2021, and then the PIU that broke into KMC, and then of course they expected that the interim management committee, which was in the law, would come and remove us before election, and then they could defeat us. But you know, at every step I fought back. Every step I defended the council. So the first the first PIU that came into KMC, I went to court. I got an injunction against the Gambia Police Force and the ministry, the PIU left. Then they started Ministerial Commission of Inquiry. I went to High Court and defeated that. Then they were expecting the interim management committee to come and wipe us out. I went to Supreme Court and changed the law. Then they were hoping to remove us in 2023. We defeated them in election. Then they created a Presidential Commission of Inquiry. So you can just see the sequence and the non-stop fighting just because they felt that the way KMC was moving was too fast and too progressive for them, and we were not of the same political party. And the fight still continues. Even that demonstration you mentioned at the dump site, it's MPP, it's the government who organized that. Look at the characters who led the two characters, the lady and the gentleman, I forget their name, the ones who led the protest, they're MPP operatives.
So here and Jeng?
Those are the ones, they're MPP operatives. Look at, Jeng, for example, he contested for mayor in 2017 and he dropped out before the race. He contested for presidency in 2021. He dropped out of the race. Then he joined the NPP 2023 elections to support Bakari Baji. So we know where his loyalties lie. And both of them don't live in Bakote. This is the surprising thing. And I myself live in Bakote. So, and then you look at the crowd they gathered. It was like 13 adults and 16 minors. So you look at the genuineness of those things and you look at who is backing them. So like I said, the fight with the government is non-stop because it's a political fight. It's not about the Gambia.
So that is going to take me to my next question, which was the local government commission.
Yes.
We've seen you appear there several times.
Right.
And then one of your appearances, you said, okay, you're talking about your personal business, where figures came out and some people were saying, okay, Talib said like his business like is making an income of $1 million. Is it every day or every month?
Yeah.
So people were saying, okay, whether Talib pays tax to the government. Right. So can you just elaborate on this?
Of course.
To make clarification on this.
Yeah, so, my accountant was not happy that day. He's like, why are you putting, your figures out there, But, I think as public officials, we have to be as transparent and accountable as possible. And I think this is where also declarations are important. But I have a very well-structured business. I'm an importer, trader, distributor. And we do make, a lot of money every year. And that's why I'm even able to effectively be a public servant, because I don't have to worry about where do I get money, etc. And that's what disturbs most public servants, So we are tax compliant. I have an accountant, I have lawyers, I have auditors. So we do all the right things. And that's why we have no issues with any tax authority or with any authority. We pay our dues. In the company, we have 40 direct staff. We have 150 or 200 indirect staff. And we are expanding. And, the good thing is I have the experience to set it up in a way where my physical presence is not required. And that's why I can be a mayor of KMC. I build systems.
Because the allegation on social media was like, you make $1 million every day.
Right, so anyway, basically my answer in the commission was because the lead counsel was saying, how come you were able to lend 2 million to your protocol who was trying to get a house. I told him, well, I generate millions in a week, or every day. So basically, I guess, in politics, there's always operatives trying to tarnish one's image or trying to create narratives, etc. So one person, I guess, tried to pull a narrative, but it couldn't stick. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I am in an industry that is regulated and we are import distribution. There's nothing that we can bring into this country without paying taxes. Impossible. Because they have to come through the port and customs.
So was that 1 million?
Well, I don't want to get into that. I did it for the commission's purposes, but two things why I don't like. I think I said it just because the lead counsel was trying to imply things that I did not like because he tried to create narratives. So that's why I brought that clarification. But there are two reasons why I don't like talking about money. One is distasteful. Gambia is a largely poor country. Many people are struggling. So it's not good to brag about, this is what I have. So I certainly did not do it to brag. Secondly, as well, there's people in the company who that's their business. They run the company. So I would rather them talk about it when they're asked. But the reason I was making that clarification is just to put in the mind of the lead counsel that yes, I am able to give this money because I have the money. So I think these are the answers for that.
So your relationship with your former party, United Democratic Party. We've seen that, okay, there was a time, you were praised when it came to KMC, Newly, Talib everywhere. But this year, there has been a lot of talks around you before you even leaving the party.
Exactly.
So can you just tell us your relationship with United Democratic Party before and now?
So for me, I'm not emotional about politics. I'm not somebody who is too worried about what people say about me because I know who I am, I know where I'm from, I know where I want to go. And I am a person of integrity. I have my conscience clear. Whatever I do, my conscience is clear. So yes, it's politics. They love you one day, they hate you the other day, but it's expected. Same was true for Barrow, same was true for Yaya Jammeh, same was true for Sadauda. So, and that's going to be the life of every politician. It's up and down. Sometimes you're loved, sometimes you're hated, and it depends. It depends who you're following this. People who love you for the right reasons never hate you, because they believe in you and what you stand for. But people who love you because you supported their idea or their agenda, once your agendas are different, then they're going to turn against you. So life is natural, but like I said, I will no ill will or grudge because for me, politics is never personal. 99% of people you meet in politics, you did not know before. They were not your friends, they were not your family member. So if they turn on you, it's just public, it's the public. But like I said, what is most important for me, family, friends, religion, so these are the most important things. So if your conscience is clear, your morals are not compromised, you follow your values and principles, and that's your integrity. Your family endorses, your friends endorses, and there's nothing to fear.
Okay, are you trying to say, okay, your love within UDP to those people criticizing you now was not genuine?
Well, not that is not genuine. Like I said, there's two types of people. People who love you for what you represent, people who love you for what you are delivering to the Gambian people as a nation, people who love you because they admire you, and then there's people who love you because you affiliate and support their agenda. So there were those types in UDP. People who were just Talib fans. They're UDP, but they love me. There are people who love me because I was pushing the agenda of their party. And both are okay. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying the ones who genuinely love me for who I am or what I represent, they will never hate. The ones who felt that I should have supported their party or their agenda and loved me for the party, those ones will turn against me, obviously, because I'm no longer a member of their party. So these two both exist. So I think that exists in all politics. Today people who love Valo just because he's president. The day he stops being president, they no longer love him. Just look at what Kadri did when he was president. Everybody else, a lot of people, majority were following him. When he's come to be president, just a small portion continued to follow him. So it's politics. That's all I have to say.
So you have been accused that okay, this was a plan that you plot a long time against the leader of the United Democratic Party, who is Hussein Dabo, to lead the party. And then they said, okay, when things failed on your side, that was the time you and some supporters decided to leave the party.
There's many narratives. Some people say we plan this, we plan that. But like I said, there are people who were sitting in the room who know exactly what happened. The reason I don't choose to talk about it, very people want you to talk about it. Maybe one day, but right now, there's no benefit. Because end of the day, you say this, they say that, you say this, they say that. And then one should ask yourself, am I in this for petty talks or am I in this to salvage my country? So I think it will be a major waste of time, major distraction, and I will not allow anybody to corner me into petty politics because that's not my style, and I'm not interested in that. But maybe a day when this political cycle is past, when we are all comfortable, when we are all reflecting on what happened, then I can say, okay, exactly this is how. But what I will say is, that's why I always answer in my interviews. I don't want to say what was discussed in closed rooms, especially saying that. But at the end of the day, the situation was mismanaged, it went out of hand, but we all find our way. I always also repeat one thing. If this was an issue of integrity and conscience and morality, or whether Talib is honest or dishonest, there's only one way to judge it. I would have gone to power if I was in it for myself, because there's many opportunities, and I don't have to spend any money. I don't have to take any time to please anybody. I would just go and join the incumbent government, like some have, take a ministerial seat or position myself to be vice president, and I could have. And the opportunities were there. But why would I go start a movement or party from scratch where the first day you only have 5 supporters, us 5 sitting below. And then we are trying to figure out how do we do this and grow this from scratch. Then we are brave and courageous. We are ready to take the risk for our country, and we believe in ourselves and we believe in God. So because many people call it, they say, wow, you guys are brave there. This is what you're trying to do is so difficult. How many parties have failed? How many parties have started? So basically, that alone should be the test for integrity and morality, because the easy thing to do, the self-interested thing to do, is to just go in there and go.
Okay, as somebody who once believed in the UDP principles, you forming your own movement now. Why did you choose to disown all those principles and then form your own movement, which I believe you wanted to form it into a political party?
So we did not discard any principles of the UDP. What we decided was, in our minds, UDP did not have the ability to evolve or innovate, values and principles that we believe in, that maybe they won't necessarily believe in. But I don't know. But what is most important is that we are now starting a platform we can build from scratch, from ground zero, and start getting the ideas of things that are happening in the sub-region, get ideas from our former parties, and bring it together and adapt it to the local environment right now. What is most important is that we have the ability to innovate, reinvent ourselves, while still adhering to traditional values of integrity, morality, and traditional values of patriotism, etc. But the extra layer is we are innovative, we are inclusive, we are trying to focus on the issues. We don't want to do politics of personal attacks. We don't want to be politics of petty arguments. We want to focus on the issues hurting Gambians, unemployment, poor healthcare, poor infrastructure, things like that. I think that's what we want to focus on.
So how do you feel on this politics of identity, that we've seen that, okay, some people would call you Nar? How do you feel when somebody call you on these kind of names?
Well, that speaks more about them and less about me. I mean, if somebody stands and starts discriminating against somebody, whatever tribe they belong to, you just know that that speaks more about them and their mindset than it does about me. I mean, if today the Nards were 50% in the population, nobody dare say that. They only dare say it because they perceive that their population is small. But it's so funny that when I was part of the UDP, a lot of them will say, Jawara Mamarimo, they would identify with my Mandinka heritage and pretend like I don't even have a Moroccan heritage. But I have both, and I'm not ashamed of any of them. I'm proud of any of them, both of them. They link who I am. My grandfather moved from Fez in 1913, almost 47 years or 40-something years before Gambia had independence. And he moved to Wuli. He then started dealing with business, and then he moved to Kuntawa, where he married President Jawara's sister because he was the friend of Mami Jawara, post-President Jawara's father. So he settled in Kuntawa, they were in Barajari, Lorkarifa. So Nana Ning Jawara, who's Jawara's younger sister, was given to him to marry. And that's when they had children. Talib Bensouda, who was the Alkali of Kuntawa before he passed, Talib Bensouda, who was the MP of Nyali before he moved to the US, and my father, Ahmed Bensouda, who was permanent secretary, president's office. So I'm very proud of my family heritage, and we are a very respected family in Gambian history. But in politics, is nasty, is dirty. So people choose to do dirty politics, nasty politics. That doesn't say much about me. It says a lot about who they are and how they think. If anybody looks at Gambians and try to divide them, you don't deserve to lead this country, because this country is very diverse, 16 tribes, multiple religions, and multiple backgrounds. So I think anybody who speaks like that, nobody should give them a chance, because certainly when they have power, that's how they're going to behave.
This is Gambiana's Spotlight interview with me, Adama Makasuba, and then in this program is Mayor Ahmed Talib Bensouda of KMC. So your presidential bid, why do you want to be a president of this country?
Well, I've always felt that I wanted to be a public servant that could change my country. But I also want Gambia to be a symbol of, African advancement, African development. And I think Gambia really, with its size, with its population, strategic location, can really be the hope of Africa, because we have everything it takes, to be that hope. And we are small enough to do it in a very short period of time. And I always like to look at Gambia as a small part of a larger continent, or a small part of African heritage and ancestry. Anywhere you go in the world today, Black people and Africans are treated as second-class citizens. They are looked down upon. If you put a green passport anywhere in the world, you're going to be scrutinized extra long at the immigration. You're never trusted. And why is that? It's because our history has been very bad. We've suffered slavery, we've suffered colonialism, and even the countries we call home, they are architected with the West, the Western products. I mean, today, Gambia, Senegal, all these countries are lines drawn by white people in Europe. So even the nationalities we subscribe are human constructs. So at the end of the day, we have a big challenge to really change the fate of the Black person. And Gambia, as small as it is, as strategic as it is, could be that hope if we are very smart and intelligent about how we govern, and very smart and intelligent about how we run our politics. So this is the incentive as a young African man in this world why I would like to lead my country.
So what are some of the issues that you want to change in this country? What are some of the challenges you want to also address?
The first is poverty. The first challenge I think any president should try to tackle is poverty. All the other problems are linked to poverty. Healthcare, poor healthcare is linked to poverty. Lack of employment linked to poverty. Delinquent youth, high drug usage is because of unemployment or lack of business opportunities is because of poverty. The poor agricultural base or resources agriculture is all linked to poverty. So I think any serious leader should think about how to end poverty in Gambia, starting with absolute poverty, poverty generally, and set a target date, and then you work backwards. And I think that is the way to go.
So, how do you intend to do this thing to end poverty in this country, which has been lingering for decades?
Decades, and centuries. I mean, since the colonial era, poverty has been here. There's only been extraction of our wealth to the West, but our ancestors, like they say, "Suma mawati mam amut, suma mam amut, suma papa amut man haon." So it's a vicious cycle. And even if you look at families, like in my family, my mother bred the cycle of poverty in her family. She, through education, she went to school. She went to Bakau school. She became a bookworm. All her younger brothers, because of her intervention, went to school, and she went to Gambia High, and then she was able to break that cycle of poverty. Now, the next generation of Draga Gundas that came from Bakau Salichapa, all of them are educated, all of them are independent, and all of them are doing very well. So the number one thing to think about is investment in education, which is very hard in politics because education takes time. Because when do your young people go to school? When do they come out? And when can they do for themselves? So it has to be a double-edged sword. One must have economic planning, and one must architect its financial sector to be able to afford giving cheap, low-interest loans to Ghanaians in business and trade. So right now you have to do it in a two-way street, where you support people in education, understanding that is medium to long-term gains, and where we support people in trade such as fishing, artisanship, carpentry, welding, agriculture. These are very important, especially agriculture. So like I said, you will need economic planning, investment in education, and the re-architecture of your financial sector. So one thing I said in Farafeni was Gambia is an agricultural back, that can really support people in farming. Farming is very important to the development of any country, because even if you have gold, you will sell it to buy food. So the problem is lack of investment, access to finance, and lack of structure. And the bottom line is youths don't want to farm, and why should they? Every farmer you look at is poor. So it's to make farmers prosperous and successful. So people will want to do farming just as much as they want to sit in a bank, or just as much as they want to go to Europe. It should incentivize people.
So, in case you become the president of this country in 2026, what plans do you have to ensure that, okay, we are going to make life easier for Gambians in the country here, even those abroad?
Well, you're going to have a 100-day target of cost of living. How do you tackle cost of living? Cost of living is influenced by three major economic factors. One is the currency, the strength of your currency. Gambia is an import-based economy. 90% of food we consume is imported. So we are very vulnerable to global shocks. If there's a war somewhere and freight becomes expensive, food becomes expensive. If Senegal decides to change their policy on the agricultural base, food becomes expensive, meaning the curb exports of their food. So the forex is very important, inflation is very important, and how do you tackle that? Interest rates are very important, and how do you tackle that? So it's a bit of monetary policy and fiscal policy. So the issue is, in 100 days, how do you ensure that cost of living is controlled or minimized? So that is the most pressing issue, bread and butter issues. People are worried about food on a day-to-day basis. Secondly is, like you mentioned, the diaspora is a big part of Gambian economy. 30% of our GDP, which is about $800 million, is through remittances. So today, most of us, we are comfortable because the diaspora is settling a lot of money. Even if you have business here, part of the reason your business is doing well is because diaspora is sending money to Gambians who can buy products from you. If not, your business would not succeed. So we have to really think about how do we harness our diaspora. In Europe alone, they have more than 100,000 Gambians there. In the United States, I think the number is greater. But unofficially, some estimate we might have more than 300 to 400,000 Gambians or people connected to Gambia living in the diaspora. So how do we ensure we can create investment products for them here to invest their money? How do we ensure they can have representation at the legislative level, at the parliament? How can we ensure they have democratic say in our elections by giving them the right to vote? And most of all, how are we incentivize them to learn to invest properly in Gambia through bonds and other schemes government can come up to make sure our diaspora is participating fully, both financially and politically.
Okay, we've seen that, okay, you served 2 terms as mayor of KMC, and then you have announced that, okay, you are not going to seek another term. In case you became the president of this country, are you going to ensure that term limit is respected in this country?
Actually, that would be one of our 100-day plans, right? So, through many people will say, oh, let's wait for the Constitution, let's wait for the Constitution. Based on our experience, if you keep waiting for the Constitution, you might never change that because there's so many agendas and interests. Though in our plan, we will reactivate the constitutional review and ensure that there's a new constitution, but we believe in the interim, there are things that must be done that are very important. And one of them is the Public Order Act. The other one is the 2-term limit. These are very important to change within the first 100 days in office. Because if you don't, I fear any president would not, after he sits 1 year into office, because they keep bringing justifications, agendas keep coming up. So one must always make sure you do the right thing at the right time. And I think 2-term limit should be done within the first 100 days. That's why, as a matter of principle, as mayor, I can go more than 2 terms. But I said, I made a declaration. The reason I did it, if I was ready to change the law, I'll change the law. But I'm not a parliamentarian, I'm not a president. But the way I have trapped myself is by making the declaration during my election. Or that was one of my election promises. That is within my power to say this is my last and final term as mayor if I am re-elected. Because if we are putting that condition on presidents, we must put it on ourselves when we hold elected positions. And even when we lead parties, if we are a candidate, why should you run more than 2 terms as a candidate of a party? If your party is real, if your party is solid, and we believe in the principles, then you must give chance to us. So these are some of the things we also want to put into our Unite Party when we register.
So we've also seen 2 people. You were with them at the United Democratic Party, which is Mamadou Sabale and Yankuba Dawa. We've seen that recently. These are your main critics. What happened?
So I don't know. For them, I don't like talking about them for many reasons. It has no benefit really. They are not presidents. They don't control any aspect of the country that affects the daily lives of Gambians. And frankly, I think a lot of the politicians, they are looking for attention all the time. And I am not that type of politician. When Barrow stands and criticizes me, I feel that has substance. He's the president of the country. He's the person most powerful and in charge of our resources. And is frankly the person who has a lot of impact on what we believe as citizens and as politicians should happen. So he's somebody everybody should take very seriously. But I mean, if opposition leaders are criticizing other opposition leaders, it's senseless. It makes no sense. If people who don't have, and who've never been elected, or people who are not in positions of power, criticize somebody like me, it's just like the same impact as somebody in the market who criticizes.
But
Yankuba is one.
Yankuba Dawa is a chairman who was elected.
Yeah, he's an opposition person. What benefit does that have for me? So I'm saying for me, politics, and that's what we are trying to bring in UMC, is to do politics of substance. Not trying to see who's the better argumentative person, who has the best attacks. It's not a game, it's not a show, it's not a television show. It's about life of people. So we have to take it very seriously. So one thing I always say about President Barrow is, when he sits on a platform, instead of addressing concerns of Gambians, he spends half his time attacking opponents, which is terrible. And Gambia is one country I think everybody should be very, very careful. This country, one politician told me that his fear is Gambia is so divided. No matter who becomes president, will find it very difficult to bring meaningful development. And this is one country that cannot afford to be divided because we're too small. Everybody is related to everybody. One person said, President Jawa once was famously has said, the reason I never talk about anybody is because if you attack them, maybe your security guard standing by you is related to them. You know, so it's very, very, very important we keep our politics civilized, we keep our politics respectful of dignity. Is 2.3 million people. We are too interconnected to bring certain divisions.
Then are you hopeful of winning the next election?
Absolutely. You know, we work with strategy. We work with our minds, we work with our hearts, and we trust that Gambians ultimately want to do the best thing, which is to bring meaningful change. But we always say that though we are hopeful of 2026, we are also very, very, very focused that this is a political party for the future, and it's about changing governance. So it's not just about one election, or it's not about one person's ambition. We truly are here to stay, and we truly are here to change Gambian politics.
Thank you, Mayor Talib, for your time. That brings us to the end of this interview. Mayor Talib has been our guest in this show. I am Adama Makasuba, and then this is Gambiana Spotlight interview. Follow us for more interesting interviews in our subsequent programs. Thank you.